Hello, everybody. How you guys doing? The much anticipated time and hour and second is here. I am so delighted. I am so honored. Like, I don't even know which other words to use to describe how I feel right now. Um, Thank you so much. If you're joining us for the first time, please remember to subscribe and click on the notification bell so that you can always receive us anytime there is a post and anytime we come live. All right. One more thing I want you to do for me is to make sure that you share this video and you distribute it all over the place because because of the kind of topics that we speak about, YouTube is not so enthusiastic about spreading our channel. So we need you to keep on spreading our channel for us. Now, today we have a very, very important guest in our midst. This is the kind of people that I actually feel very liberal with using the word VIP on them. They are very, very important, not because of wealth or anything, but because of the kind of things they do and the kind of vision they have for Africa. They are very, very important to the future of Africa. And without wasting much time, I want to introduce with so much honor and pride my special guest for today in the person of Prof himself. Yes, believe it or not, a lot of you were saying, Chidi, are you sure? Are you sure? I need to see this. But anyway, yes, it is real. We have Professor P.L. Lumumba in the house today. Professor Lumumba, you are welcome to our program today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. And I'm happy to be with you this afternoon in East Africa. I believe it is morning where you are, or is it night, or what time is it?
Yeah, we have people watching us from all over the world, so we just greet them good day.
That is safe enough.
Wow, Prof, it's such an honor to have you on our program today. We already know so much about you because anybody who, if you just someone types your name, they will get so much information about you. But today in our program, we don't want it to be the stereotype kind of interview where we bug you with all kinds of things. We want to get to know who Professor Lumumba is. That's what I just want to have a chat with you and to be able to know who you are because a lot of people.
I avoid that question, and you can rest assured I'm not going to be as narcissistic as you want me to be. I'll, because what I don't like normally is to have what I call hagiographical interviews, which talks about oneself rather than issues. You'd rather I talk about issues rather than myself.
Awesome. Yes,
Yeah.
we will talk about issues, but the reason why I'm not going to indulge in such frivolities, Prof, I can assure you. But the thing there is a lot of times we've had people who have appeared on the scene in Africa and they are wannabes. They are wannabes because they just want us to believe because they have a way of organizing things, and packaging things. But there are the real authentic Africans, and they are the ones that have grown out of their experiences. There is a reason why they are who they are. So maybe I would I would start from that point. Prof, we have seen you speak at events. In fact, sometimes I wonder whether the people who invite you at their events have a problem with them. You are the only man whom I have seen that people go through so much trouble to invite you to their events. and you come to that event and you're supposed to praise them, but you come there and you're like a teacher with a whip, and you begin to flog them and you begin to chastise them. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is going on here? So, why do you do this, Prof? I have seen this happen in Nigeria. You are in front of senators and you are speaking to them, and they are also uncomfortable in their seat. And after that, the next people will still invite you to come and do the same thing. What moves you to behave like this, Prof?
I let me say without being on a high horse that my experience is that the human spirit yearns for the truth. The human spirit yearns for the language of the heart. And the human spirit is capable of recognizing when one is speaking the truth, even if the truth hurts. And I hold the view that whenever I've had the opportunity and the occasion to address any audience, I am not pretentious. I speak the truth as I see it and as I believe in it. And that does not mean that every time I speak the truth. It is the truth as I see it, which means that if I'm confronted with a set of facts which negate what I believe to be the truth, I will change my mind. And my experience is that the world is in need of such uncomfortable truths. We are many times, in the name of being gentle, in the business of flattering each other and saying things that are designed to please people. But that is band-aid solution. If there is a problem, there is need to be brutal about it, because true love is also about brutality. If you are suffering from malaria when I was young, you would have a dose of chloroquine, and it was not comfortable when you had it.
No.
Today, in the days of COVID, despite the comfort that we've got to endure, we are wearing masks. And whether we like it or not, in the next few months, each one of us is going to subject ourselves to some vaccine, whether it's made by the Russians or the Chinese or the Americans or the Europeans or the Africans, because it is necessary that we immunize ourselves. And I think that that is what drives us, the need and the desire to ensure that what is done is founded on truth, as is verifiable empirically.
But why are you like this?
That is that is a very deep question. Why are you like this? And I think that I am like this, if only to answer your question a lot more directly. Because experience has taught me, the number one, that nobody has the monopoly of knowledge and wisdom. Number two, that truth, if it is articulated with good intentions, is sustainable. That lies only last for a time, that the mortality rate of lies is like the mortality of ice in a furnace of fire. And once you recognize that, then you recognize that the truth is the only thing that cannot be contradicted. And I think habit is something that gives birth to character. And character is the only thing that remains when all else is lost. And when you begin to recognize that truth is the mother's milk of true survivor of humanity, then you become a purveyor of truth, then you become a warrior for truth, then you know that there is no way to the truth, truth is the way, and you begin to recognize that you must be in the forefront of fighting for the truth, the consequences notwithstanding. And that does not mean that one is suicidal. It only means that one believes in certain ideals.
Prof, I growing up as a kid, even though my parents, were the typical parents who moved from village to the township and got into civil service and all of that, but we would always go back to the village. And it, looking back now, I always marveled at the simplicity of the African life. How in the village everybody, now talking about truth, things were just, everybody knew what was the truth. We didn't have so many laws. The laws were few, and things worked out well. And in your clan, everybody knew the person that was wrong. Cases were settled very easily. And I have seen through so many countries, in my association with people's traditions, I've seen that it cuts through Africa. It is the same thing, this simplicity. Where did we lose it? How did we miss this? That right now we have institutions and leadership that is so complicated and based on things that are so detached from these basic African ways that we were brought up in. Where did we lose it? How did we get to this mess that we find ourselves in Africa?
You know, as you are talking, I'm remembering some of the writings of a Nigerian, Chinua Achebe, whom I read as a younger person in 1977 for the first time in his much more famous book, Things Fall Apart. And Chinua Achebe says, and I agree with him, that the white man came and found us doing our things in our own ways. We had our problems like every human society. And he put a knife in the things that held us together. And he draws his title from W.B. Yeats, The Second Coming, turning and turning in the widening gyre. The falcon cannot bear the falconer, things fall apart, mere anarchy is loosed upon the earth. I think there is a sense in which the coming into Africa initially of the Arabs, and we don't talk about the Arabs and the Arabization of Africa as often as we should, and ultimately the coming into Africa of the Europeans and how they disturbed the equilibrium of our lives. Those of you who have watched the movie Roots will see the story of the character of Kunta Kinte. When Kunta Kinte is moved from Jufure village in the Gambia and taken to the United States of America, what they do is to beat Kunta Kinte out of him so that he becomes Toby.
That's right.
So that we are indoctrinated to believe that everything African is bad. Our women are told that our kinky hair is bad, so you've got to buy Brazilian hair. We are told that our color is bad, so that you've got to bleach to become white. We are told that our names are bad, so that we've got to acquire foreign names in order to be closer to God. We are told that our gods are bad, and that is the white gods. Our science is described as witchcraft. And this is drilled down in our minds so very effectively by strategy and stratagem, by cajolement and by different means. And ultimately, we begin to lose confidence in ourselves and we suffer from low self-esteem. And we are made to believe that anything and everything that is African is inferior. And that becomes our default position. And I think Malcolm X gets it very right when he talks about the house Negro and the field Negro. And many of us acquire this house Negrodism, and that is where we are. And our languages are bad. When you are educated, you must speak English as we are. We must speak French. We must speak Portuguese. You don't, if you speak Yoruba or Igbo or Ovambo or Fulfude or Luo or Kikuyu or Luganda, those are badges of primitivity. And that is the space in which we find ourselves, because the infrastructure that is in the world is specifically designed to undermine the confidence of the African. And when that is done consistently in a choreographed manner, then you and me suffer, our laws become inferior, and the British come into their colonies and say that if any law is inconsistent with written law and is repugnant to justice and morality, we don't question whose justice, whose morality, then that law is not law. And that is where we find ourselves even as we speak now. We are told that all the things we used to do and are doing now are not good in the sight of God. And when that is done consistently, then we pay the pain. We suffer the pain and pay the price. And Africa and Africans find themselves in that unfortunate space.
Prof, you are a part of. I saw you on your on a page, and you were talking about the African Agenda 2063, and I know it talks about a lot of achievements that has been, you know, uh, that the AU has done in Africa, but I still continue to question the activities of the African Union. I find it hard to believe that in 2021, the AU, in my opinion, hasn't gotten Africa to a point where they. I know they are not supposed to interfere in I mean, in the affairs of sovereign nations. But if we have all come together and we have the African Union, what is the problem that is still making AU like a toothless bulldog? Because we sit in awe and see things happen in African countries, and sometimes the African Union does not even say a thing about it. What is the problem, Prof?
No, no, you are so right in using a statement that is almost a cliche. It used to be said of the Organization of African Unity, which was the name of the AU before it was changed, that it was a toothless bulldog, and it was. And in order to understand the current character of the AU, you've got to go to the month of May, the 24th and 25th day of May in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, when 32 heads of states and governments of the then independent countries gathered in Ethiopia for the purpose of seeking unity. The emblematic speech on that day was that of Kwame Nkrumah. And Kwame Nkrumah had understood the nature of the imperialists, and he told the audience on that day, we must come out of here with one government, one currency, one army, because the imperialist agenda is to perpetuate a neo-colonial project. And as long as we are disunited, the erstwhile colonizers, the French, the Belgians, the Portuguese, the British, and the Italians, and the Germans, and everybody else will come in a subtle way, and they will continue to control our affairs. Nobody listened to Kwame Nkrumah at that time, and we ended up with a weak organization called the Organization of African Unity. The African Union was supposed to do a lot better, but as I speak to you now, the budget of the AU is financed largely by foreign powers, the Chinese and the French. And as the saying goes, he who pays the piper calls the tune. So that when you see the AU behaving as it does, it is because its agenda is controlled from outside. You've talked about the many things that are happening in Africa now. Look at the conflicts. The year 2020 was meant to be the year of silencing of the guns. As I speak to you now, look at the conflicts that are going on in Africa and undermining development. In Ethiopia, the Tigray problem. In Sudan, the problem of the Nuba Mountains and the Blue Nile and Darfur. In South Sudan, the fragile peace. In Somalia, fragile peace. In the Sahelian region, in Mali, in Mauritania, in Burkina Faso, in Southern Cameroon, in Central African Republic, in Eastern Congo, in Northern Mozambique, in Libya, there are conflicts, and not only the conflicts, but you look at what is happening right now with Ebola, what is happening with COVID-19, and you look at the situation in Africa, the shrinking economy with a young population, and the AU is eloquent in her silence, because the AU, as you rightly say, is a toothless bulldog. One would have wanted to see a much more proactive, a much more aggressive African Union. I know they have now created the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which is designed to ensure that we break down the tariff and non-tariff barriers and to encourage trade within Africa, and also to, under the Yamoussoukro Protocol, to allow the free airspace and to have one common passport. But when you see what is happening on the ground in SADC or in ECOWAS or in East Africa, you can see that we are not reading from the same script. The problem is simple and singular. The individuals who are charged with leading the AU are bureaucrats, while Africa needs crusaders, men and women who are wedded to a particular cause and who are wedded to die for that cause, who have clarity of vision. And we have seen them. We saw people like Kwame Nkrumah. We saw people like Julius Kambarage Nyerere. We saw people like Thomas Sankara. We saw good people. And I am unhappy to say that in Africa today, you don't see such individuals in the higher echelons of politics. And it will take us, I am now convinced that if Africa is to change sustainably, it is men and women like yourself who, through media such as these, that are going to energize the critical mass from the bottom of the pyramid. And when the bottom of the pyramid is stirred sufficiently, then the pyramid will shake and Africa will change. And that is why I remain eternally optimistic, because before it becomes bright, it must be dark. And I can already begin to see the sign. I walk across Africa sufficiently to know that many Africans are energized. I am in communication with Africans in the diaspora to know that they are angry. What we need to do is to canalize our anger and to operate in a symbiotic fashion in order to synergize our action, and Africa will begin to know positive change.
Prof, I want to tell you now, and I'm not someone who is in the habit of just praising people for the sake of praising them, and the spirit of truth in you, I'm sure it's able to decipher these things. You are right in saying that the Africans of today, they are very angry, they are upset. I never used to dress like this. You notice my dressing in the flyer for this interview. That used to be my normal person. In fact, it will surprise you to know that the doctor in my name is Reverend Doctor Chidi, and so to have transformed from the gentle me to a person who is dressing like this says a lot about um, where we are, where this generation is. We have tried to negotiate, we have sat down, and we have watched leaders. I get very emotional when I talk about this. We've watched our leaders squander our future. We're not even talking about our generation, but you can imagine. I wonder. I mean, I can't explain it. I'm a Nigerian, and I've lived to see Nigeria descend to where we are right now, and it's unbelievable. I can't take my kids back home, and I've seen some
mm,
other African countries run over by the Chinese. You know, I, we are actually the wealthy. You see, we are the wealthy ones. I watched one lady speaking, and she was talking about how come it is Africa that has the gold, Africa that has the
mm,
diamond, Africa that has the coffee, Africa that has the cocoa for chocolate, Africa that has the silicon, the bauxite, everything, and we are the richest nation, and yet we are the poorest. How does that happen? And so, Prof, I'm telling you that in this our lifetime, we are coming. We are
mm,
set. You just watch out for us. You're right. Discussions are
mm,
going on. We have crossed the Rubicon. There is no going
mm.
back. And people like you, God will keep you alive for us. We need you. And I'm so glad that you are talking with us. I mean, for you to have granted me audience on my show, I know how expensive it is to get you to fly around the world and give your time. You were actually preparing a law. You're doing your law work and all that, but still you give me this time. It speaks volume. And Prof, I want you to know that we are looking forward to working with you. We need people like you. Can you imagine you as as the chairman or president of AU? I don't know I don't care anymore. But can you imagine someone like you in the leadership of the African Union, going around nations? You've been around, you've seen it. So, Prof, I want you to know that on behalf of my generation, on behalf of people like me, and there are so many of us, when the time comes, we're going to be looking up to you to do what you must do. We hope you will not abandon us when we reach out to
No,
you.
no, Chidi, we won't. And let me tell you, we have a duty. We have a God-given duty. Thomas Sankara, whose life was cut short, in one of his interviews said, in order to achieve certain things, you need a certain amount of orderly madness.
Yes.
And I think that that is what Africa needs. I was in an interview about Ambazonia, Cameroons, and after the interview, somebody said, "Oh, the people that you are talking to are not action-oriented." And I told the gentleman, we need a combination of those who energize people through talking and action. It is the wedding between speech and action that gives birth to the freedom that we desire. And it is important, therefore, what you are doing now, giving the oxygen of publicity to these things. And let me tell you, when you walk across this continent, and I've done so in the last many years, and I can tell you there is a group of young men and women who are working hard. The activities do not have the publicity that they desire. But let me tell you, as Fidel Castro once said of the Cuban Revolution, keep on knocking at the door. You never know when the door will give in. Keep on knocking, keep on knocking. And that
Oh,
is what we are doing, because nobody knows when the door will give in.
Prof, I can assure you from Bobby Wine, and I think people saw a little bit of that with Bobby Wine, because during Bobby Wine's election, they were shocked to see that people in Nigeria were rooting for him. We were all over the place. We were transmitting 24 hours because we felt like he was one of us. In Bobby Wine, I saw myself. That was a young man, and you saw him. They beat him up. They killed his aides. Come on, this is this is our land. Look at how they're messing up our people? And I'm telling you, Prof, I live in Canada. I'm online. I relate with people of my generation from all over the world, and we measure even better than them. technologically, intellectually, we are there. But it is our leaders that are messing us up. They are making us look. We are not here to beg. I'm an architect. My wife is an architect. I run a construction company. When we are outside, we excel. We have all it takes. I remember those days in Nigeria. I always talk from my own experience. I had Indians come to Nigeria. They were my teachers. Indians were my teachers in Nigeria. Chinese people were not even there. They didn't even count. And now there will be signages on African roads in Kenya that is written in Chinese, in Mozambique. What is going on? And you have Africans serving them, and you have restaurants that Africans cannot enter inside Africa. That is highly unacceptable, and that is why it's just a matter of time. We have come, and we are not going back till we restore sanity, because it is total madness. It is total madness. Prof, look at what is going on in Nigeria. Look at what is going on in Nigeria. Prof, you've been to Nigeria several. Can you even believe what is going on in my country, Nigeria? They installed the kind of president they installed on us, and we were watching. Things went from bad to worse, to a time when we discussed cow. Cow is what we discuss in Nigeria. Just cow. Can you imagine? Nigeria has failed Africa. Nigeria has failed Africa totally. But we are doing what we must do. Like you said, it's not everything we're going to put out there. We recognize our heroes like Thomas Sankara. We recognize all those. We know we are walking in their footsteps, and shortly, we are very, very close. Shortly, this revolution will start, and those people who don't. Oh, no! It is coming. It's not going to be televised.
One of the things that we must never, and I tell this to young people, is that the best teacher is history. And history teaches us that our duty is to play our part. Sometimes things don't happen as quickly as we desire. And I give this analogy that change in society is like he or she who plants a tree. There are those who will plant the tree. There are those who will water the tree. There are those who will prune the tree. And there are those who will enjoy the shade of the tree. But it's all a relay race. Each one of us playing his or her part. And that is all we can do. The result will come, but we need not worry about the result. We need to worry about action and vision, which is animated and informed by the desire to do good. The former president of Tanzania, Julius Kambarage Nyerere, may he rest in peace, used to say, "It can be done. Play your part." And that is what we are doing. So thank you very much, and God bless.
Prof, I know I can. I don't want to let you go, but I know you're a very, very busy man. I know you're a
Another
very busy man.
time.
And we can't keep you, but let me ask you what you think we must do. And in saying that, there's a lot of time. As a lawyer, we have looked up to the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and we've looked up to the United Nations. But is there really hope in those places for us?
Let me tell you, even when we call ourselves lawyers, it is lawyers trained in the Western tradition. So that your typical lawyer like me will say, "I'm trained in the common law tradition." Another one will say, "I'm trained in the French tradition. I'm trained in the Dutch Roman tradition. I'm trained in the Portuguese tradition." But what I begin to realize is that my knowledge of that law opened my mind. After the genocide in Rwanda, the international community created the International Tribunal for Rwanda, which sat in Arusha in Tanzania. They didn't try very many people, and because of the nature of the jurisprudence there, the people did not feel that things have been done in a proper manner. It took the government of Rwanda to go back into their tradition and look at the justice system in the tradition through the Gashasha system, which punishes the offender and also restores calm and justice within the community so that he who is punished is then rehabilitated. And I think the world doesn't talk about African justice systems as much as we should. Many African countries did not have prisons. And I think that as we go forward and as we begin to go back into African tradition, there are certain African traditions, of course, which are not compatible with our lives today, but there are quite a number of them which I think ought to be given their pride of place. And the Gashasha system is one of the things that I think ought to enjoy greater scrutiny and greater study so that we ourselves are not prisoners of alien systems of justice that are not compatible with our sense of justice. Because the law is one thing, justice is another thing. And I hold the view that as we go forward and as we begin to energize African institutions under the aegis of the African Union, our presence in the International Criminal Court and other so-called multilateral courts will reduce as we begin to solve our problems in the domestic arena in a manner that speaks to justice as we know it, justice as we understand it, justice as we embrace it, justice which enhances cohesion in our societies. I look forward to those days.
Let me ask a question that a layman would ask. What constitution does the the International Criminal Court or the okay, so which court listens to cases in Africa? Let me ask it that way.
You know, you must understand the history of the so-called the Rome Statute. The Rome Statute came into being on the understanding that there were certain crimes which were so egregious, which were of an international character that ought to be tried by a multilateral court, which is not beholden to any country. But we have seen, as we in the history of the International Criminal Court, that because of the hegemonic nature of Western nations, the United States of America cannot be subjected to the ICC. We have seen that quite a number of European countries are not subject to the ICC, so that the ICC has actually become a forum where you try leaders of third world countries. You've seen leaders in Africa, such as Gbagbo in La Cote d'Ivoire, people from Taylor from Liberia, and Ongwen from Uganda. You have seen many of these individuals are people from weaker countries. So that although it is called international justice, the reality on the ground is that the law still favors those who are strong and those who pay the institution. And there is no shortage of people who have interrogated the jurisprudence in those environments. And secondly, what happened is that many courts in African jurisdiction were also very weak, so that they were incapable of trying people who had perpetrated crimes within their countries. And that is beginning to change because the people are becoming angry. The people are saying that if you are a leader and you don't behave, we want you to be subjected to the law. So democracy, understood from where I sit, means that the people are sufficiently energized to appreciate that those who are in positions of leadership are not demigods, but they are people who have been given the honor and privilege to serve, not because they are better than everybody else, but because they have presented themselves and they have an agenda which is for the general good. And as people become more and more alive to these realities, then I think African institutions will become stronger and we will no longer have our people being tried in ICC and other institutions outside of the continent will punish them within the continent. And you can see that that is beginning to emerge. When I look at South Africa and the ongoing activities against the former vice president, the former president Jacob Zuma, it tells you that when domestic institutions are strong, then people can be called to order within the domestic arena.
Prof, I'm just going to ask you what is your feeling about Americana and what she had to go through when she came out with a statement after she was relieved of her post. I I don't know what you think about that. Some people have asked me to get your opinion.
You know, Arikana, the problem with the people like Arikana is that they speak the truth. If that be a problem, I'm using the word problem very deliberately. And they speak the truth in an environment where people hate the truth. If I was asked, and I was one of the individuals who thought that Arikana, having served at the AU, would have been a very good candidate to the chair of the AU. But of course, you know, the kind of stratagem and the kind of subterranean maneuvers that were deployed to ensure that even our candidacy was not on the card, so that the current chair was then purportedly elected and opposed. So I have no doubt in my mind that that is one of the ladies in the continent of Africa who must be given the opportunity to serve. She has demonstrated by what and did that she is capable of putting her neck on the chopping board for what she believes in. And we need many more of her kind to come forth and put their necks on the chopping board, not because they are suicidal, but because they have a conviction that if Africa is to be great, our sons and daughters must be prepared to pay the ultimate price.
Prof, when you talk about paying the ultimate price, you then believe that Africa is ripe for a revolution.
Without doubt, without doubt. And when I talk about revolution, I'm not talking about revolution in the merely in the classical sense.
Yeah.
Africa is ripe for a revolution in all fields: economic revolution, political revolution, cultural revolution, social revolution. Africa, industrial revolution of a unique kind. Africa is ripe for it. And the beauty is that, you know, there is an alignment which is very unique, and it emerged during this period of COVID. The kind of contact that I've been able to make this during this COVID period in the Caribbean, in different parts of the world, within the continent of Africa, people think or thought that they were the only ones who are angry. We have now discovered that there are so many of us who are angry. The next stage is that we must now conflate our efforts so that what you are doing and what I'm doing and what others are doing are then put together in a single basket. And let me tell you that the atomic effect of our combined energies will be so devastating that nobody will stand in its way.
You know why I say this? You, in a statement, you said, and I quote, that whenever you have a ruling political class and a population that is invested in the fight against corruption, that is the game changer. He said everybody who had been involved in the fight against corruption in Africa would never ever go anywhere without this support. And it looks to me like this statement you made a long time ago, it's beginning to get closer to the point where the rubber meets the road, and then we will have this atomic effect.
And it will.
Yes. And then you also said, and I quote, says we can no longer allow sentimentalism per se to be the defining method of engagement. We must have concrete engagement so that African Americans can have a true umbilical connection to Mother Africa. I just want to talk a little bit about people in the diaspora. A lot of people think that, oh, you know what, um, uh, African Americans, they don't care about what goes on in Africa, and why are they not coming home? Why are they just, even some of us, why are you just talking in the diaspora? I need you to speak to that. What is the importance of Africans who live in the diaspora, and their effect, and the effect of what they're doing on Africa?
Brother, let me tell you, Chidi, I was listening to a speech that was delivered by Martin Luther King Jr. in 1965. And he was telling African Americans at that time that, do you know that if African Americans were to be an independent country at that time, they would be the eighth richest country in the world? That tells you the kind of resources that African Americans in the United States of America and African Americans in the diaspora generally have. We are talking about a population of anything beyond 250 million, to be found in Canada, to be found in the Caribbean, to be found in Latin America, to be found in North America, to be found in Europe. The resources that they control put together would be something in excess of 2 trillion United States dollars, which is just about the same size as the GDP of all African countries combined. So you imagine that those individuals were to take deliberate effort to say, we are investing in agriculture in Africa. We are investing in innovation and invention in Africa. We are investing in aviation industry in Africa. We are investing in value addition in the mining sector in Africa, but we are not abandoning the United States of America. We made the United States of America. We are not abandoning Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica and St. Lucia and Antigua and Barbuda or Jamaica because we made those countries. Those are outposts for the mother continent. If we understand it in that way, then African Americans, who have now been recognized as the sixth region of the African continent, have a major role to play, because they are, by dint of their exposure in the things that have been done in the West, there are things that they bring on the table which would add great value to the African continent. And I think deliberate effort must now be made. And that is why I was very happy, for example, with the president of Ghana, Nana Dankwa-Addo Akufo-Addo, when he initiated the year of return. That was symbolic and emblematic. Going forward, we must now move from symbolic gestures. We must now say, now we have had the year of return, Nigeria will also have it, and East Africa and everybody else. Now we want to engage in a very concrete manner in the following areas: in finance, in agriculture, in education, in aviation, and in all those areas that change human lives. And then we begin to engage in a programmatic and a systematic manner. I have no doubt in my mind that Africans in the diaspora are capable of changing Africa in a cataclysmic way if it is well ordered and well choreographed.
Thank you so much, Professor. In my country, yes, we're going to clean up things and then we'll invite people. I'm so proud of what is going on in Ghana. I've seen so many videos of people going back to Ghana, so many important black people around the world going back to Ghana to invest, and then I know the same thing will happen in Africa very soon. I'm going to let you go, Professor, but not without asking you to speak to our generation, to speak to a generation that we've been pushing and they've been pushing back. They keep killing us. They are not just pushing back with their useless laws and systems, but they actually take lives. A generation that seems to be discouraged sometimes. What do you have to tell us? I want you to speak to my generation.
I will answer your question by making reference to a quotation that was made by Mahatma Gandhi when, during the struggle against the British rule in India, he said, "You can kill my body. You can even take my body and torture it, but you can never kill my soul. My soul is a soul that is everlasting. And if you kill my body, there'll be many other souls And that is why I believe that this generation must be a generation that believes in the fact that indeed going forward, the struggle that we are waging is an intergenerational struggle, with one generation handing over the baton to the other. And if we believe that that is the case, then we cannot lose. We will win. And this matter is not a matter that is time bound. If it comes in our lifetimes, well and good. If it doesn't, we'll have made our contribution. And history has demonstrated not once, not twice, that when young people are in the forefront of the struggle, then that struggle never dies. The entire struggle for regaining our independence was led by young men and women. In the recent past, we have seen in South Africa, we have seen in Mozambique, in Namibia, it is young people. You will remember the Soweto massacres in 1976, the Sharpeville massacres in 1960 and 1969. You remember the Mau Mau wars in Kenya. You remember the Maji Maji rebellion. All of these have demonstrated that Africans are capable of putting their lives on the line for a greater good. So go out there and serve.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. I think I like the fact that you have uh, made us understand that it is a call to service. So we must serve our generation right now. We have been called to serve. Professor, thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank you very
honoring us to come to our
much.
program. And when next we are coming to you, we are coming to you very soon. Just get ready for us, please. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
sir. Thank you.
So,
So, guys, that was Professor P.L.O Lumumba, our special guest for today. He said so many things that have really, really fired me up. Okay, it's good when you hear from people like him, and then you know that he said something that is very, very important. Sometimes you are doing this in your own corner and you are angry, you're upset, and you think that you are the only person. But you are encouraged when you now realize that it's not only you, there are people in other parts of the world who are also angry like you. So the momentum is building up, things are building up, and very soon, according to him, there will be an atomic effect. So, for those of you who have been messing us up in Africa, for those of you who have been messing us up, especially in the place I come from, Nigeria, your days are numbered. Okay, your days are numbered. Now more than ever, I believe that we are on the right track. We're on the right track. We are due for a revolution, and that revolution is definitely coming, and nothing can stop it. It's just a matter of time. I want to thank you for listening to our program today. Please make sure you subscribe if you have not, and please come back next time when we have another important guest on our show from Dr. Erica and from all of us in the Toronto studios of Worship Media. I want to say that we love you, we we think about you, and we have a great faith that very soon we will achieve all our heart's desires in the struggle to free our motherland, Africa. God bless you. Bye bye.